Fake, 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 fake. This was the message that I got all week long. And I did a lot of thinking about it, and I did a lot of writing about it, of course, through The Artist Way, and also my daily writing for Self-Care Sunday. And I wanted to take myself outside today, so I'm going out for a walk. I didn't feel like being confined to the walls of my recording room, even though I'm starting to get my little studio together. So fake, fake, fake. I don't know. Sometimes I get these messages in clusters and they don't really make sense until I start to do some writing and then things start to come together. I didn't really concentrate on the word fake, but things were starting to come to me that were indeed things that I thought I believed in one time, or people that I thought I believed in at one time, that the truth always finds the light. That's what I say. And these beliefs that I had, or people that I believed in, they, found the sunshine for not just me, but the rest of the world that they were kind of influencing. And I think when you talk about belief, you have to go back to your earliest beliefs. And if you had a Catholic upbringing like I had a very stringent Catholic upbringing. Let's see what's going on in the schoolyard. Let's see if there's anybody around, because I have my notebook with me. And so I grew up Catholic, and I remember the first time that I actually had a question about my religion, and I was 7 years old, and I was in religion class, and I posed a question to the nun that was teaching, Sister Raphael, because it was something I couldn't understand. I thought about this all week too. What was it that I didn't understand? And I think probably my earliest confusion in religion class was the Father, Son, and the Holy Ghost. I couldn't get those three people together in my mind as a little girl. And I asked a question, and the answer that I received was that we did not question the word of God, we just believed it. And that didn't ring true for me. I was a little girl that questioned, like most children, we question everything. And because I persisted on something that didn't make sense to me, and I was actually comparing two things together. Well, if this means this, why does this mean that? And I was told to, at this point, stand in a trash can. Which I didn't agree with. And I didn't think that was love. I think that love would have been answering my question, but it wasn't. And children, that was a tool that was used. Fear, humiliation. Let's humiliate this little girl for asking a question. And I remember going home, and I told my parents about it, and they were like, what do you mean you had a question about your faith, and you were, I don't know. So I think that I never asked another question again in religion class. But I also, when I went to Catholic grade school for 8 years. I went to a Catholic high school for 2. I walked out. Probably my greatest act of defiance in my life. We all have those moments, like movie moments. And I remember I was a good student, great student. I loved school. I wasn't cliquey. I didn't hang out with the popular girls because I couldn't do what the popular girls were doing. My father would have killed me if I snuck out of the house or I was joyriding with boys. It would have never happened. And so I was pretty much, I was a loner kid, and I pretty much only had a few friends in high school. And my grandmother had died, and my father's mother, lived with us, and me and her shared a bedroom. And so every night we went to bed, and we would talk, her and I. We would talk at night before we went to bed. And so my grandmother's gone, and I'm in the 10th grade, and it was a big loss for me not having her there. And, my parents tried to, glam it up and be like, well, you're going to get your own bedroom now. You'll have your own privacy. You'll have to share a bedroom with your grandmother. None of those issues were ever an issue for me, but I think that they just didn't know how to make me feel better. And so they were trying to make me look at the bright side, which wasn't a bright side at all. I'd rather have my grandmother back. But I was staring out the window, and I heard the most ungodly sound I have ever heard in my life. It has been with me since that day. All I see is raindrops on my eyeglasses. It has been with me since that day. It sounded like lightning had cracked on my desk. Now, I know, if you've been around long enough, you probably heard horror stories about nuns. Well, because I was staring out the window and I was thinking about my grandmother, I should have been given a pass. I mean, I was a pretty good student, A-B student. And I heard this loud noise hit my desk. And it just startled me back into the present. And I looked up I'm sitting in a desk, and I looked up at this nun with this yardstick in her hand. And she said, "Put your hands on the desk." Now, you don't need to be a rocket scientist to know what that means. And I looked at her. I said, I was thinking about my grandmother. And they knew that I was out of school because I had a death in the family, and that's why I was not present. And she said, I'm going to teach you not to daydream in this class. And I looked down at my desk. I looked up at her, and I decided that I was going to take the books that I walked in with and my book bag and walk out the door. And this is all running through my head. I know I'm going to do it. But how am I going to get past this nun with this yardstick? She's going to whack me with it as I'm leaving? Am I going to take her down? I mean, I was not this type of girl. I was not a fighter. And I was so upset. And I had tears. I'm just, I was not going to be that little girl that at 7 years old was told we don't question anything and go stand in a trash can. And you were not going to humiliate me in the 10th grade by hitting my hands with a yardstick. No f***ing way. And I walked out of the room. Now, I guess she had no fear about me walking out of the room because we had hall monitors that were there to say, where are you going? Do you need a pass? And I just walked right by this chick that was in the hall asking me if I needed a pass. I was like, no, I can get there on my own. Well, where are you going? And I kept on walking. And of course, this little hall monitor is following me, and you need to report back. Go downstairs to the principal's office right now. You're not answering me. I went right over to my locker, emptied my locker out of the things that I needed, which was none of their books, and left my key in the locker. And this hall monitor is like, where do you think you're going? Here's your locker key. And our locker keys were pinned to the underneath our armpit, and it was on a long ribbon, and the ribbon indicated what tribe you were in, whether you were a freshman, a sophomore, a junior, or a senior. And I just unpinned that thing. I left that key in my locker, and I walked out those doors. And then, when you walked out the doors was my main street, Moore Street, that I had to walk down. And I remember, as soon as I was far enough away that nobody was going to come chasing me. This is the second time that I've walked out of a Catholic school. I did it once in 4th grade, and I'll tell you about that another time. I had such a sense of freedom and just tears running down my face. And then fear came back because I now had to tell my parents that I walked out of school. But I knew, and there's those times that you just know. Nobody and nothing, not even a parent, is going to get into your way. And my parents came home, and I believe that the school cooled. They had a student that walked out of a classroom, and they wanted to make sure, A, that I was okay, but that I was disrespectful to this nun, and I left. And I said to my parents, I was shaken. I said, I'm not going back. You could do to me what you will. Unless you're going to quit work and follow me around, I'll get dressed like I'm going to school, but I'm not going. And I can't remember if it was the beginning of the school year or the end of the school year. I believe it was the end of the school year, because then we had the summer to decide where it was that I was going to go. Or it may have been the beginning of the school year, and we were in, but I was so just upset by the whole act of it. And I remember saying to my dad, like, she wanted me to put my hands on the desk so that she could hit me. And I'm not standing for that. You're not hitting me. And my father agreed. My brother had already left high school because he was an entrepreneur. He had that entrepreneur spirit like I did. And he was already, doing his own thing where he was fixing cars, and he had he had invested in a hot dog stand, and he was like in the major part of the city where all the tourists were, and he was doing great. So, he not as great as having an education, but it didn't hurt him at all. He went into his own business, and he does very well. So I did audition for the Creative and Performing Arts, CAPA, and I got in. But I did not feel like, I didn't even know that this school existed. My parents' priority was that you go to Catholic school. And, being a creative child that I was, I think they missed the mark there. Even though I got in on the sheer will to learn. But these kids were so far advanced from me in dance and in, what else did I try out for? I tried out for dance and drama. They were so far ahead of me that for me to take a space for someone that wanted it badly, and they were doing this, I just felt as though that was the wrong thing to do. So I backed out, and I went to St. Rita's Acacia, which was a business school, and I learned what I needed to make it in life. Shorthand, typing, still reading, still world issues, not history. I learned typing, shorthand, and accounting, and then because I got out of school so early, like at noon, I was able to take a part-time job and put my knowledge to work. So I think I had a bad taste in my mouth about my Catholic upbringing for a long time, and that happens. I think that when you hit a certain age, like when I was in my 20s, I started to go on this journey about, am I really a Catholic? I mean, I was brought up Catholic, but do I really agree with the religion? And so I think it set me on, I know that it did, I don't think, it set me on a journey of all different practices. And I always came back that, yes, I am a Catholic. I am. But the spiritual gurus that I met along the way, that were feeding that hunger for what I was missing, is something else that I discovered in my writing, when I was getting these messages about things that are just fake. And I was like, what does this why do I keep seeing this word fake? What is going on? And is it AI? Because I know that when it hit, I spoke a little bit about the artists that I knew that had gone to school to, become artists and illustrators and graphic designers that now it was heartbreaking to see my friends' kids just be devastated by this AI intelligence that, was, you can't compete. And then I started to get even more messages about competition, about authenticity, about I had a conversation with my husband about we were going somewhere, and my mind is always on content, not for numbers, but what am I going to talk about on my channel? What brings me the most joy speaking about? What do I think my listeners want to know about me, know about what's going on? What makes me not feel so isolated with what is going on in my life that is going on in your life, and you feel less isolated? So it's not a numbers game for me. I don't look at how many subscribers that I have, because subscribers come and go. I mean, if you're going to get your head in that game, forget it. That you're playing a totally different game than I am, and my game is being authentic. And so my husband was like, you're so distracted. I'm like, I just don't feel good. And I don't think that I'm getting sick. But yesterday, when I would tape Self-Care Sunday, and not actually on a Sunday morning in the freezing cold and the snow, wet snow, I was so disenchanted, I guess was the word that I'm looking for yesterday. I just felt nauseous, and I felt like there was a headache coming on that wasn't coming on, and I couldn't put my finger on it. And what do? I always just grab my journal and I start writing. And I woke up this morning, and the first 3 words that I heard were fake, fake, fake. Again. I'm like, guess what? I'm getting dressed. I'm going outside. I'm filming my self-care Sunday. I'm getting this down after I did my writing in the morning. And so I was talking to my husband. We were out, and I said, John, I just am so... Ever since I started The Artist Way, and I want to give my subscribers a way to connect with me, to make this more real for them, not just listening to me talk about lessons and having them comment, and it's not in real time, and I'm trying to find a platform that I can use. And I said, how do these creators do it? How do they create and then go on all these platforms and do this I said, I just feel like I'm so stupid sometimes. I feel like there's something that I'm missing that could be easier. Like this is like some kind of joke. Like, well, why are you doing all that? Why are you using all this energy for this when there's an easier way to do it, and I just haven't hit upon it yet? And I think that that's what was making me, physically ill. I take what I do very seriously, especially when it comes to speaking about things like Self-Care Sunday and mental health and how to create this world that you want to live in. That's been my tagline since my first video. And I was really upset about it, and I started to do my own investigating about these platforms, about Instagram, about Facebook, about Patreon. And I believe it probably started with Patreon when I was thinking about, how can I have my work supported? And I believe that if you do good work, you should be compensated for it. I don't think that there's anything wrong with that, and I don't think that you should be embarrassed by it. You do a good job, you work hard, you have a good work ethic, you strive to put the best out that you can, and you should be compensated for it. Anyone. So I start looking at Instagram in particular, because I have an Instagram account, and right now it's a mishmash of stuff. So the way that I see Instagram set up is it's a game that you can't win. It just is. They're not rewarding creativity and all the things that I value: creativity, time, energy, a good work ethic, being in touch with your subscribers and being available to them if they have a question. And I see a lot of complaints from small-time businesses that are complaining that their businesses are suffering because they are on Instagram. I'm like, well, what the heck is that about? How are you suffering being on Instagram? You have a presence on another platform, and, you have a small business, and this work is your own. Is it being stolen? Like, I couldn't put the two pieces together. And here it's the fact that it's the algorithm. It's the numbers. And one illustrator was very forthcoming with her journey on Instagram. And she said, I'm leaving Instagram because it has ruined my small business. If you want to check her out, the name of her YouTube channel, and I'll link it down below, is called Butterfly and Toadstool. And she does gorgeous watercoloring illustration. And she's in the process of getting her license for her work to be commissioned. And she said, Instagram basically ruined my small business because if she sent her portfolio out to people that she would like to partner with, and they were like, your designs are lovely, you have a lovely portfolio, the work is stunning, we love it. However, we want to partner with someone that has a bigger presence on Instagram than you do. And I felt so nauseous when I was watching this video, and I'm like, this is why I'm sick. The bell just went off. This is what I'm carrying around with me, this pressure to be more of a presence on these social media apps that are not going to take me anywhere. I mean, I have done, I don't know how many diamond paintings where I have, linked, tagged, and now when you go and you tag, like, just say Dreamer Design, now it's like, oh, well, what product did you use? And let's tag that, and let's make it available to the people that are watching you. And you are basically just, you're an employee. I'm sorry. You're an employee to these companies, to these social media apps, and you're not getting compensated for it. Oh, they'll give you like a 10% discount. Whoopee. But nothing is being pointed at you because you're not big enough. So it's a numbers game that you just can't win. And I just got, the bell in my head just went off with all these things that I feel that are coming at me that are, still deep rooted in me as far as my religious background is concerned, as far as, being, hoodwinked by people that I look to for spiritual guidance that were not really who I thought they were. And I don't even know how this person, I have been going back to my home and trying to get some of my stuff out of the way for my son because he has taken over my home. And I have so many books. John and I have so many books, and it's been heartbreaking to read that 600 Barnes and Nobles are closing because people just don't even hold a book anymore. And there's so much, there's so many studies on the difference between reading on a tablet and reading, holding an actual book in your hand, and how much more retention you get. I can't imagine staring at a bright light staring at me, feeding me words, as opposed to a light being shined on a book and reading and physically holding it in my hand, being able to feel it, being able to, touch certain words, circle certain words. Like it's a mind connection that you don't get from a tablet. But they're closing, and I'm going through some of my books, and here I came across all my big library of Marianne Williamson books, who, when I was on my spiritual journey, my spiritual quest, looking to be fed, this part of my life that was lacking. And I'll never forget seeing the book, A Return to Love, and seeing that cover and of Marianne looking like an angel with the words "A Return to Love" written on it. And the words in that book, how beautiful she put everything together. I was also a student of A Course in Miracles, and I was trying to learn the course, which is very comprehensive and heavy context, that I think that you need to do in a cluster if you want to learn A Course in Miracles. Who wouldn't want to learn A Course in Miracles? Just listen to the title, right? And here Marianne Williamson went into her own story with A Course in Miracles of how her own life was troubled in the 70s, and she had a penchant for the bad boys and dabbling in a little drugs, and and she found A Course in Miracles at a friend's house and began to read it and just, devoured this book at a rate that I could never. And she became the authority on A Course in Miracles. And so to read A Return to Love and have that double whammy of A Course in Miracles, one of her, probably her best-selling book, but she had another book that I absolutely adored called Everyday Grace. And it begins, it's kind of like a Mark Nepo book, because it's about a day unfolding. It's about waking up in the morning, and I think the first chapter is called 7 a.m. morning, or waking up, and what you do. Do you turn on the news? Do you fill your mind with all these distractions? Or can you do something else? Can you sit down? Can you read something spiritually awakening? Something that's going to make you feel good? Do you write? So I had agreed with that. And then it progresses through the day of all these different problems or hardships that come at us during our day, and what the tools are to overcome whatever it is that you could be going through. I think it's probably better than a Return to Love. And then this woman who became this guru to celebrities, she became their spiritual advisor. Everyone turned to Marianne Williamson, from Oprah to I think Oprah was like her biggest client, but like even presidents and stuff were like, you know, Marianne can make a prayer up on the spot. You could tell her what's going on. She'll hold your hand. She'll spit out a prayer, and you know, people just looked at her like, yes, this is my person. This is who I want to follow, and I was one of them. And then she decided that she was going to get into the presidential campaign, and I was like, what? I just didn't see it. Not as a president, as an advisor, or maybe having your own office, an extension to the presidency, maybe being like a Billy Graham, but certainly not a president. Because, you know, Marianne's thing is that, you know, yeah, I agree. I totally agree with prayer. When I'm feeling confused, I still say my prayer from A Course in Miracles every day. And every time I'm struggling with something, I say my prayer from A Course in Miracles. Tell me where you want me to go. Tell me what you want me to do. Tell me what you want me to say and to whom. And that prayer has been answered almost immediately every time I say it. Every time I engage in it. There's always been a person that says to me, you know, you said something and I needed to hear that, and it just sends shivers down my spine every time. But I just couldn't see her dealing with other world leaders and, you know, holding hands and coming up with a prayer. I didn't think that she had the capacity to fill a presidency, no matter how much I loved her. And then I saw another side of her that was just not a return to love and not coming from a source of love in any way during her campaign. Enough so that I got the message that if you didn't agree with her political stance or her beliefs, then you needed to be annihilated in a way. And I remember having this feeling that I'm having now, this feeling of like nauseousness to the point that I couldn't even look at her books. And I packed them all up and I gave them away. And while I was at my home, Everyday Grace, of course, the one that I love. And I'm like, you know, I held on to this even though I was nauseous at the time, because there was a part of her that was rational at one time. There was a part of her that believed in love. And then, you know, even like now she's up again, she's gonna run for president again. And I just thought, oh wow, because the media background on her has not been kind, and that she's a tyrant to work for, and that I think that she was even or police were called because she damaged a car out of anger. She like assaulted it, and like, okay, we all fall from grace, I get it, but not in the position that you're in. You know, pray on it, Marianne, pray. You know, take your own advice. And I think that was the awakening for me when I saw her in this position that she was in, and the position that she was taking, and it wasn't kind. That because someone doesn't agree with you or you don't like a person, you know, has never been your message that you attack with hate. So that's when I decided that I needed to be my own compass. And yes, it's okay to go out there and look for someone that shares your value. I mean, I've talked about how many times I've stood in a Barnes and Noble, and I was in all these areas of self-help and, you know, looking for something that was already inside of me. And we talked about that last week, about the remembering and forgetting. So if it feels good for you and you are not causing any harm to someone else, keep the faith with yourself. Keep the belief within yourself. And the messages that you need to hear, you will get. Like, I don't think that it's being jaded. I think that we know enough that we know what's right and wrong. We have a moral compass. We know what's right and wrong. We know that we're good people. I mean, if you're here on YouTube and you're on my channel, you're definitely a creative person and you like connecting with people, and you're an authentic person if you're listening to me and you've gotten this far. Be your own spiritual hero, healer, guru. Ask of yourself what you need, and you will get the answer. And I think that that is the message today. And I think that that's what my body was trying to tell me about why I was feeling so ill. I'm getting myself all, like a tight fisted energy in the pit of my stomach. That's something like, yes, I could chase these other platforms, but I don't chase, because anything you chase just runs further away from you. I took one day last week, and it's probably another reason why I felt ill, because I really wanted to create, and yet I was like, no, you have to do the work for your platform, for your channel, and you want to attract people that share what you do. And the most valuable thing that I can give anyone is my time. I can't compete with a number game, because the other thing that I found out with Instagram is that, you can have a company that's very popular, then they decide, well, I want out of this, and I'm going to sell my company, and I'm going to sell my customers, clients, guests, whatever you call people that subscribe to your channel on Instagram. And so if I had, let's say, 100,000 people on Lisa Marie Designs, and I decided I don't want to do this anymore, so I'm going to sell my platform, I can sell it. I could sell those 100,000 people that subscribe to my channel, and you buy it, and you change the name, and you have 100,000 people behind you right now. Or something else that I learned is that you could buy subscribers. Oh my God. Oh, it's like buying friends. I mean, how fake. We don't have enough fakeness in the world already. So I just am like, wow, that's how all these people have all these subscribers. Now, I think that there are some legitimate people out there that do have people that follow them, but I think that they're like a rarity. They're an anomaly. They have the magic. And most of those people, I'm going to correct myself, all of those people that I know that have these huge platforms that everybody knows who they are, these are the people that are being really authentic. They're making the mistakes. They're celebrating their accomplishments, because these other channels that have all these other, I'm like, wow, these people must do nothing but just if you think about what it takes to create a reel on Instagram, the font, the color, the music, the making it glossy and something that makes someone say, oh yeah, I want to check this girl out. Like, that would take me all day, and I would only have one. I would only have one reel. I wouldn't have any more. You'd click on my channel and you would say, what the hell's going on here? I would have to revamp my whole channel, my whole Instagram platform, and I'm just not into it. So I think I'm going to do what Butterfly and Toadstool did. I'm going to put up a message on my Insta that says, listen, I'm not putting any energy into this channel anymore. If you want to find me, I'm on YouTube, and just see how many of my followers from there come over, because most of them are my friends on Instagram. Most of them are they know that I'm not on Facebook anymore, because that's a energy suck. I go on Facebook, and I have friends that have messages up that are like, please pray, I need your prayers right now. And I'm like, oh my God, what's wrong? And they don't put what's wrong, because that's the hook. And everybody wants to outdo everybody else with the prayers. And I'm like, my cousin, and I'm calling him out because I'm going to tell him about it. He had a fire, and he put it on Facebook, and I found out about it 4 days later. And I'm like, if you're waiting for me to find out that you had a fire through Facebook, oh my God, is everybody okay? Are you all right? And we called, and we got a text message back. How about that? We called, my husband and I called everybody for New Year's Eve. We got a text message back. And we were sitting out in our yard. We changed our plans. We were sitting out in our yard, and we poured some champagne. We lit a fire. It was a really nice night. And he said, let's call everybody and wish them a happy new year. And I said, yes, let's. Only one of my girlfriends, and I knew. I said, When you call her, she's going to answer on the first ring because she keeps her phone in her bra. At first ring, she answered the phone. And she's my most true, authentic girlfriend that I have. And I know I could call her. It doesn't matter where she is, ride or die. She'll go over the cliff with me just like Thelma. You know? And these are the people that I want to surround myself with. I don't want to surround myself with a bunch of fake people or people I don't know or bots just for numbers. So I'm getting out of that game. I think that YouTube is going to be my platform. I think that buy me a coffee is going to be where I put some of my, more inside things on that platform. Even though, I feel like I spill it all with you guys. I don't keep anything a mystery. It's not like, well, come over to buy me a coffee and you could see some of my, background life or whatever. I spill it all right here. What else was it? Oh, we got text messages back from everybody. And I just was like, okay. And we were laughing at every text message that came in. We were laughing. I'm like, I know it wasn't even midnight yet. So it wasn't like, well, people are busy. They're ringing in the new year and they're clicking champagne glasses. No, they were waiting for that moment to happen. So I don't know. I like my life. I like being authentic. I love every one of you because I know every one of you, mostly every one of my subscribers has said to me, I just found your channel. I love how authentic you are. And that is the highest compliment that anyone can give me. Anyone can give me. I just, oh God, you don't even know, because it's not what I strive for in a way that I'm striving to be authentic. It's what I strive for that you see. I want you to see that this is not put on in any way. And I'm carrying around this notebook because I said, oh, I'm going to go outside. I yelled up to John and I said, I'm going out for a walk. Don't follow me, because sometimes he'll follow me. And that's the other thing. Now I'm going inside the house and I'm getting ready to do my taping for next week's Artist Way, meaning tomorrow. And I don't know. I think John might be sitting down with us because he's decided to do the Artist Way this year. And I just cannot believe it. But I did take my book out for me. I'm looking for a dry spot that I can actually put this on. I don't think I'm going to find one. So I'm going to be on the jungle gym here. And I actually took this out with me because there was a writing in A Return to Love that, oh man, when I read this book, this was the prayer. This was the prayer. Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I? To be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, fabulous. Actually, who are you not to be? You are a child of God. Your playing small does not serve the world. There is nothing enlightening about shrinking so that other people will not feel insecure around you. We are all meant to shine as children do. We were born to make manifest the glory of God that is within us. It is not just in some of us, it is in everyone. And as we let our own light shine, we are consciously give other people permission to do the same. As we are liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others. So that is what I grew up with, learning in my own religion and learning as a child of God. I could be like Jesus, right? That's what we were taught. We were taught be like Jesus. We weren't being like Jesus, and thinking that you could be like him was something that was a line blurring. And that was probably the question that I asked when I was 7 years old and got thrown in a trash can. Who are you to think you're Jesus? But there was something that I always felt deeply. I always felt that Jesus was an ordinary man. He was a gift to this world, and he was the example of what we all could be. And just reading that your presence, that when you shine liberates other people to shine? Is that not a miracle for some people? That they would want, that if you could do it, I could do it too? I think so. So I thank you for joining me on my self-care Sunday and helping me gain a little bit of clarity here, because I don't know that I would have dived this deep into this topic if I wasn't not just doing this for me, but doing it for you also, because the writing is one thing, the writing is for me, but the talking is for you, and then I get even more clarity. So I thank you for giving me this platform and giving me your time, your most precious, precious time. Thank you. Create that world.